Abby deserves better.
Feel different down there after birth.
Yeah, actually. I feel like it goes back, but it doesn't go back to exactly how.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day, and I was kind of surprised to hear you say that. 'Cause you'd never.
After everything Matt's said, people aren't just uncomfortable anymore, they're concerned. And for many viewers, the question isn't, what's wrong with Matt? It's, why is Abby still staying? Matt and Abby used to be everyone's favorite couple online. Their journey, from marrying young to having kids to documenting every moment, made them feel real, relatable, different. They danced their way through TikTok during the pandemic, smiling, joking, and radiating that we're in love and winging life energy that millions adored. But behind the matching outfits and perfect lighting, things started to shift. The vibe went from wholesome to uncomfortable, from authentic to calculated. At first, it felt like they were just being honest about life and marriage, but then the honesty got darker, and people started noticing one pattern. Matt was always saying the wrong thing, and Abby was always the one hurt by it. It started subtly. Offhand comments from Matt that seemed a little insensitive. Maybe just a weird sense of humor. Maybe not. But the more he spoke, the worse it got. He joked about Abby's C-section being cheating birth. He openly talked about how intimacy with her felt different after she gave birth. He once implied that Abby was too emotional during pregnancy and said it publicly on their podcast as if it was no big deal. Each time, the internet flinched. These weren't private thoughts being shared for the sake of helping others. They were moments that made people ask, does Matt even respect his wife? And the more people listened, the more they felt like Abby wasn't just in a difficult marriage. She was stuck in a dynamic where Matt humiliated her for content. But nothing hit harder than what came next. On one episode of their podcast, Matt revealed that after Abby gave birth to their second child, he didn't speak to her for 2 days. Why? Because he was mourning his personal dreams. He literally said he felt like his goals had to go to the wayside and that he was frustrated, so he shut down. Meanwhile, Abby was recovering from major childbirth, feeling emotionally overwhelmed and desperately needed support. And Matt was silent by choice. He described it like he was going through his own kind of baby blues, as if that somehow justified neglecting his wife during one of the most emotionally vulnerable moments of her life. Abby, in that same episode, admitted she was confused, hurt, and completely alone during that time. She had high needs, she was overwhelmed, she was exhausted. Matt didn't meet her where she was. He went silent. And when you step back and really look at that dynamic, how is that love? The internet exploded. Viewers couldn't believe what they were hearing. Matt wasn't just being vulnerable. He was exposing a side of himself that felt deeply selfish. She literally gave birth, and you're ignoring her because your dreams might take longer? Postpartum recovery isn't the time to have a personal crisis. It's the time to show up. The way he spoke about it made it worse. It wasn't framed as a moment of shame or regret. It was delivered casually, like it was just another quirky story. What's even more troubling is that this isn't a one-time thing. There's a pattern. Matt does something hurtful. Abby absorbs it quietly. Then they talk about it on their podcast, often with Matt laughing or brushing it off, and Abby trying to explain it away. Maybe he didn't mean it that way. We were in a weird place. We've learned from it. But if they've really learned, why does it keep happening? People have started calling it out for what it is, a toxic cycle dressed up as transparency. Because when your relationship constantly becomes content, and the person you're married to keeps making you the punchline, it stops being about vulnerability. It starts looking like exploitation. What should have been a platform for connection has become a red flag factory. Their podcast, The Unplanned Podcast, is filled with clips that make people uncomfortable. And not in a too real way, in a, Matt, why would you say that about your wife kind of way. Fans used to defend them, but now they're questioning everything. Some believe Matt is intentionally rage-baiting for views, that he posts the most outrageous moments knowing it'll spark outrage, blow up on TikTok, and keep them relevant. And if that's true, it means Abby isn't just a co-host. She's collateral. It's not just fans noticing anymore. Other influencers have started throwing shade. indirectly and directly. One viral video from influencer couple Maya and Hunter said, "If you don't want millions of people telling you to leave your husband, maybe stop posting him doing things you know are toxic." Everyone knew who they were talking about: Matt and Abby. In the comments, Matt and Abby have left the chat. "This better not be subtle. Say their names." We all know who this is about. For creators to publicly call out another couple, especially in such a tight-knit niche, that says a lot. People aren't just whispering behind screens anymore, they're speaking up. And the message is clear: Abby deserves better. That's the part no one can fully understand. Why is Abby still there? Some say she's trying to protect her brand. Others believe she's emotionally exhausted. A few fans have said it's hard to see someone who once felt so vibrant now constantly explaining, apologizing, or managing Matt's chaos. There's also the theory that Matt runs the brand and Abby has no control over how their story is told. But whatever the reason, one thing is obvious: she doesn't look happy anymore. Viewers are noticing Abby is fading. Not literally, but in the way she shows up on camera. She's quieter, more careful, less expressive, almost like she's walking on eggshells, hoping not to trigger another online debate, or worse, another one of Matt's tone-deaf jokes. In earlier episodes, she was bubbly and vibrant. Now she seems emotionally drained. And that speaks volumes, because no matter how many edits you make or how many disclaimers you add, you can't fake energy. You can't fake happiness. And what we're seeing from Abby isn't the joy of a young mom loving her life, it's survival mode. What's also becoming clearer to longtime viewers is the imbalance of power in this relationship, not just emotionally but professionally. Matt often frames himself as the media guy. He edits the content, he posts the clips, he plans the narratives. Abby has even admitted she's not really on social media anymore because of how intense the backlash has become. And while that might seem like self-care, some fans worry it's actually avoidance or worse, removal. If Matt is the one who decides what gets posted, what doesn't, what stays up, and what gets clipped for TikTok, then he's also the one shaping the public's perception of Abby. And that's terrifying. Because now, when Matt overshares, when he puts her lowest moments on display, or jokes about her body, or casually mentions something deeply personal about their marriage, she's not just a participant, she's being edited into something she might not even agree with. There's a big difference between being real and using realness to avoid accountability. Matt constantly frames their podcast content as vulnerable, authentic, and honest. And yes, that's what made people fall in love with them in the first place. But now, that honesty has morphed into a weapon, one that's used to justify sharing whatever generates the most views, no matter how personal or how hurtful it is. We're just being real. We're just like any other couple. We're not perfect, we argue too. But no healthy couple records their darkest moments and posts them for millions of strangers, and then monetizes the outrage. When you're using authenticity as a business strategy, it stops being brave and starts being manipulative, making something that campers have faced the bottom minds most are courted to speak. There's a difference between being real and being reckless, between showing the mess and creating the mess for views. Matt and Abby built a brand on being open, raw, and unfiltered. But now that same openness is revealing a relationship dynamic that feels deeply one-sided, and honestly, painful to watch. Here's the hard truth no one wants to admit. Some relationships don't survive being turned into content. Marriage is already complicated. Add 2 kids, postpartum hormones, personal ambition, emotional stress, and a literal audience of millions. That's not just pressure. That's a powder keg. And when you start turning real disagreements into podcast clips, when emotional breakdowns become Instagram stories, when serious relationship dynamics become clickbait, you're not just documenting your life, you're performing your pain. Matt and Abby have crossed that line over and over again, and it shows. If you've made it this far, here's the biggest takeaway. This isn't about canceling Matt. This is about saving Abby. Abby deserves more than being a character in Matt's chaos. She deserves her own story. And whether she chooses to leave, set boundaries, or just take back control of her narrative, we'll be watching. Not to judge, but to support her however she needs it.